Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Walters Wanderings Travel Podcast. My name is Scott Walters, and today we'll be talking about the most romanticized road in America, Route 66, with everything that goes along with it. We'll have our guest in a second, but just a reminder that if you do book a trip that includes parts of Route 66, and trust me, it's a long road. It goes from Chicago to Santa Monica, California. So you can find lots of spots there to go and travel to. If you have a qualifying trip of 4 nights or more, I'll throw $66 off the cost of your trip. So this way, you'll get your 66 and you get your kicks and all of that. So with us is Anna. Anna is from Route 66 Tour. She's going to talk about her company, what she does, and what kind of value her company brings to the table when it comes to booking these domestic trips, because we all know that domestic trips are a really important part of travel these days. So thank you for coming aboard, Anna. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Scott, for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here today and talking about my favorite road in the world.
So Route 66. Now, first of all, how did you get started? Because obviously the accent is not necessarily from Arizona or New Mexico.
No, it's not even from America.
So how did you get started? How did you fall into the romance of Route 66?
Well, that's a long story. So I'm originally from Brazil and I'm a former flight attendant. So I started very early in this travel industry as a flight attendant. I spent 12 years of my life flying everywhere, all over the world. But I had a dream to get my kicks on Route 66, very influenced by my dad. My dad was a car racing mechanic. So he was already, yeah, I grew up in this environment, so going to racing tracks and dealing with all this classic and vintage cars. He restored cars too as a hobby on the side. So I was always very involved on this in this field, and that was so fascinating. And he was very eager on learning about Route 66 and talking to people. He had a couple of friends that came to America to experience the road. Unfortunately, he couldn't make it. He passed away very young. And then I said, you know what? I'm gonna do this. This is my goal. I'm gonna explore the U.S. much more. I came here many times as a flight attendant, but I didn't have enough time really to enjoy America the way I wanted to. So time went by, and then life changes a lot. And then I said, you know what? That it's my time now. I'm gonna go explore the world in a different way. And I was already working for corporate. I quit the airlines and I was doing all kinds of stuff. And then I came to America, and my first place was Los Angeles. I was living in LA for 8 months, and I had the chance to start doing private tours in LA. First I was hosting friends, and then someone hired me, and then everything started. I was coming to Vegas a lot, and on my times off here, I was kind of exploring Arizona a little bit and California a little bit, because Vegas is in the middle. I said that's easy. And then I said, well, now it's time. I'm gonna take my trip. I took a time, like a break for a month, and I told the lady, well, I'll be off the office for a month because I need to do this trip. Okay. And so I did. I ran a motorcycle, and I started in Chicago, and I drove all the way to Los Angeles by myself.
There you go. That sounds interesting. Now, nowadays, of course, we know that Route 66 has been co-opted by interstate highways. Sadly, perhaps,
Yeah.
in many places. In fact, I think only a few original miles of the Route 66 really remain. And some of it was co-opted. Interstate 55, Interstate 44, Interstate 40, Interstate 15 are basically the old Route 66 route. But what are some of the places that still remain on Route 66 that people can go to that are easily accessible?
Well, Route 66 is actually drivable. The most part of it is still drivable. A lot of people doesn't know about it. There's of course a lot of alignments, but you still have a lot to see. For example, we have states like Oklahoma. They've been doing a great job on restoring places and repaving roads. We have a group of people that are enthusiasts. There are Route 66 lovers. They don't only live there or they have like a in the background family members that once owned the business there. They are somehow involved with this Route 66 thing, and this is kind of a bug. When you get it, it just don't leave your body at all. You get very excited about doing things and promoting. So we have Illinois, a lot to see in Illinois. We have Missouri doing a great job as well. We have Arizona. So I'm fanatic for Route 66. It's just amazing. It's hard for me to pick and choose only one state because they are very unique. But I would say that Arizona is the most is the longest surviving stretch of Route 66 and well preserved. So you have a very long stretch of attractions and living ghost towns and stuff. So if you pick up here in Kingman and you go all the way through the border with New Mexico, it's just amazing. It's just amazing.
I was doing some research, and I know that there's one area in Arizona that's now called the Oatman Highway. And apparently, it's not for the faint of heart to drive. Can you talk about that particular stretch of the road and how it got some of the nicknames it got?
It's a very curvy stretch. And so the motorcycle guys, they just love that stretch.
Oh,
My
sure.
customer, they like it's the most exciting, and the scenic views are just amazing. You can stand in Arizona and see California and Utah from a certain point of that road, and it's just gorgeous. It's like it's hard to explain because it's a feeling. You have to really do it, to understand completely what I'm talking about.
And I know back in the day, people who were too scared to drive it would actually hire locals
Yeah,
to drive
to take them.
on the
Yeah.
road because apparently it was just a lot of hairpin turns and a lot of blind spots. And
Yes, there's a
if
lot of
you're not
blind
local,
spots.
I can understand that could be an issue.
Yeah, you have to be very familiar with the road. Well, I'm a traveler, I'm a wanderer. I've been there several times, and I go there all the time because it's like very close for me. But people still get chills when we start. Okay, guys, are you sure you want to go this way? It's the most scenic. I recommend doing this, but just do it like the right way. Just don't speed, respect the limits. So the speed limit there is 25 miles per hour, but you see people speeding. And I think the worst part is we have wild animals in that area. We have a lot of burros everywhere, and they show up like out of the blue. So you really need to be careful. You never know if you're gonna
I
find like
understand
a
that.
family. Yeah.
Now, New Mexico, I know from my research, that had the longest stretch of Route 66, surprisingly enough.
Yeah.
What are some of the towns in New Mexico that are still at least close to Route 66 that might be worth, a mention here?
Well, I would say Albuquerque. Albuquerque is really neat. Do you have Tucumcari? Do you have Santa Rosa? It's just like it's so unique. You have a lot to see and explore in these towns, and you have to go and talk to people, and you just park your car and go and explore. Don't stay attached to the road itself. Of course, it is interesting, but you have to just stop and go check the places, the spot. There's a lot of tools for you to do that. You don't need a guide. So I plan trips. Most of my customers, they are from overseas, so they're not familiar with the language. They've never took a road trip before, so they come to me in order for me to point that. Okay, so give me like a whole itinerary. I make suggestions, so I highlight the spots. But there's a lot to you can get from the internet. There are a lot of Route 66 websites, a lot of associations. If you check the associations, you can get great inputs from local people. They have local guides, so all kinds of stuff.
Well, that's great. Now, let's move east a little bit to Texas. Now, I know in Amarillo, the restaurant still is there that actually, if you want to take the challenge of eating the 72-ounce steak, which quite honestly, I would take the challenge. Now, look, I would pay if I lose, but I'd give it a fighting chance. Now, that was actually part of a gimmick for people to actually stop off the road, because the way the road goes, you could just slide right through. So what are some other spots that, sort of are for lack of a better term, like these kind of I don't want to say tourist traps because that's not really fair, but places where, that were built specifically for the travelers on Route 66 to stop at for whatever reason.
Okay, so I'd like to highlight a point that most of travelers on 66 really overlooked. They go, they stop at the Big Texan, they take pictures. It's a great photo opportunity, and you have the Cadillac Ranch right next to it, and it's very fun to see people taking the challenge. Almost none of them just can finish the steak because it is huge. I've never tried it. I would never do it. It's too much food.
It's over.
But
it's a lot. 72 ounces.
yeah, it's a lot. Oh my
You're
God.
looking at a 4.5 pound steak.
Yeah,
It's pretty ginormous there.
It is a great attraction, but I would suggest people to give a try to Route 66, the 6th Street in Amarillo, where you can find all the local shops and very unique buildings. There's a lot of history there, and you can talk to locals, and they can just take you around. It's a small stretch, but it's so rich in history. Very rich.
Now let's talk about the work you do. You obviously you indicated earlier that you tend to work with the foreign audiences. I'm going to guess probably from Brazil and from Europe. And as you indicated, those people, first of all, they vacation differently than people in the States because they usually take the 2-week holiday, maybe even 3 weeks, because that's the way that their countries have a different paradigm about all that, and that's fine. We're going that's above my pay grade to discuss. But I do know that since they do take their holidays differently, obviously you try to do like itinerary planning and points of interest. So talk about how that would work. Say I called you and I say, look, I have a family of 5 that wants to go on an RV and wants to do pick up the RV near Chicago and take the Route 66 routing to Santa Monica, and we have 2 weeks.
Okay.
How would you walk someone like that through what what that particular itinerary might be? What services would you provide?
Well, so we can book everything for you. We can help you from day one to the end of the route. We can book your RV. We can book hotels for you. We can provide you with the guides, the right to. Some people like to navigate in the old-fashioned way. They don't want apps or Google Maps or phones, and we have a lot of things available. Most of them are over 60 years old, so they are not so computer savvy. They are not very into this technology stuff. But even though there are people still having this, like, okay, this is like a backup for me. So we provide them all the guides. We provide them with maps. And first, we have like kind of an interview where I get all the information that I need. So, okay, so how many days are you planning? How many people are you bringing with you? So, okay, RV, I'll give you the pros and cons of an RV. There are some stretches you can just get stuck on 66. You cannot explore so much because of sizes. So the RV is too big. For example, the Oatman Highway. This is gonna be something.
I can see someone in a 40-foot RV trying to drive those hairpin turns. I'm going like, oh my God.
Yeah. Well, you can do it. Yes, you can do it, but you don't have the road just for yourself. You have, especially if you're going there on the weekends. They are really busy because the local community go there. People from Vegas go there. People from California, like everybody goes there. They're really busy all the time. So you don't know if in a blind drive on a curve you're gonna hit the brewer, if you're gonna hit the biker, if you're gonna face like a bigger car. So
a guardrail could be anything.
We actually, this stretch, there's no guardrail at all at this.
Well, and that's even scarier for some people.
It is scarier. So you have nothing but like a big cliff, and a lot of people, they just don't make the curve. You can spot some cars along the roads. I usually take a binocular with me when I'm taking people there. I say, okay, this is why they call it Arizona Sidewinder, because she bites sometimes, and people just fell off the cliff. So we talk about all this kind of stuff. I'm not, of course, I don't try to convince people to change their way of transportation. I just explained to them, okay, so I think would be a better fit for you. You can take it or not. Okay, believe me, I did it in every way: motorcycle, car, RV. So I know what I'm talking about. Okay, we
So,
have expertise enough.
so that's excellent. So basically, clients could call me at Walters Wanderings Travel, and then I could take an initial intake, as it were. Get the initial point of view. Then I would refer them to you, and then you would work that out, and then you and I would go ahead and work out, our agreement, which is fine.
Yes,
How that works. And so basically, you could book hotels, you could book activities and excursions, you can do routing, you can do the maps, regular old-fashioned tactile maps, so that the scrapbookers out there would get a kick out of that. And obviously, people can still use the the Waze or whatever other navigation apps, just because a regular tactile map doesn't have things to say like there's an accident 15 miles ahead, or whatever.
Yeah.
So if there needs to be a detour, you still can rely on the technology to do that.
Yes.
And then of course, you can do segments, because one segment is obviously the Illinois from Chicago to St. Louis, which is actually a pretty popular routing for people to go anyways, because it's only about 350 miles or so. So, they get to go through the country of Illinois, and then they can segment it out, and they can, some people from the West can segment and go, to Flagstaff, so they can catch the Grand Canyon and other things that are nearby. So and then people in the middle can do the middle. So it actually works out to be a very easy vacation. And because it's domestic, people who have, concerns about things that they're concerned about these days can, obviously stay in their own bubble, which is also
Yeah, you're right.
So,
and what is magic on Route 66? I think it's when you start driving it, it's like, okay, I read books, I do research, but when you just face every single road attraction, every single old hotel, you just like, oh my God, this is much more than I was expecting. And and what is really sad is, I think now after this pandemic, the domestic travelers, they started to get a little more into the American history, which is great. And in Route 66, I've been seeing a lot of domestic travelers on Route 66, much more than before COVID.
Oh, sure.
So this is amazing, because this needs to continue. Like we cannot leave the road die. It is there's people living in the Route 66 stretching everywhere from Chicago to LA. It's like over 2,000 miles, and like, are you kidding me? You're not taking your kids there? They can see how everything started. Like the history of the highways in the United States, how people used to travel back then. So I am sure each one of you guys have at least one person in your family that have traveled Route 66 at least once in life.
I know I did. I was very small, but I know I traveled part of the route from part of the Oklahoma part up towards St. Louis and up that way. But I was a very small child, so I have no real recollection of it. Now, one more thing before we go. I hear that there are some places where they've actually designated it and call it historic Route 66. And that's great, because that'll make sure that people can stay on the right road. But I also hear that the road signs that say that tend to get pilfered. Is there actually any truth to that? Do people actually go out with their little wrenches and steal the road signs? I mean, do they do that?
Yes, they do that. And I have a proof. I have a picture that I took not too long ago, let's say before COVID, in a stretch here in Arizona, going like just when you get off the downtown Kingman and you get into the Oatman Highway. So they put a sign there, and like 2 weeks after that, I was there again, and the sign was gone, and I said, "Uh-oh, I remember seeing a sign then." And so I look into my pictures and I said, wow, there was a sign here. So people take the signs as a souvenir. So people please don't do that, because that's
because people need to know.
Don't do it. You have tons of places where you can buy signs.
That's right. I'm sure there are.
And then you can support a local gift shop, a local business. So don't steal, because this costs money.
I get it. Well, nearby where I live, about 15 minutes from where I live, there's a little side street. It's called Springsteen Court. Okay,
Okay.
and because people love Bruce Springsteen around where I live in New York, they go to the Springsteen Court and they continually take that street sign away. So, I mean, they say necessity is the mother of petty theft, but just don't do it. Just resist the temptation. Take a picture of it. You can take a selfie with it. You can go to the store that's 3 miles away. Then you can buy a sign. Then you can buy a right size sign because those signs are big and heavy. They're not sure. So again, tell us the name of your company, and do you have any promotions for being on my podcast with me today?
Oh yes, of course. So my company is called Trips on 66. So we are experts on road trips on Route 66. We do day tours as well. So we can take you on motorcycle. We can take you on a car. We do caravan groups. We do no motor coach. Okay, no motor coach.
No, I understand. That's a different thing. I get it.
We don't. It's not nothing against that. It's just not our style.
Right.
So
I get it.
I can plan everything for you. And I work actually on this. Just a parenthesis. I'd like to reinforce that I have some travel agents working with me. So when I tell you that I do bookings, I actually use travel partners to book hotels, to book cars. Just the motorcycles. I book the motorcycles myself. But I actually have this support from my partners, and this is for a reason. I am not a travel agent. I've been in the travel industry for over 30 years now. I started very young, but I'm 49. So I want to support my colleagues, and it's a lot to do. The logistics take a lot of time from me. I have to talk to the customer, so it's a lot to manage. So that's why I have on my back stage my fellow travel agents. They are awesome advisors. This is more.
And you'll work with people like me if I can.
Yes, of course.
You'll work with me. We'll do our thing, and then we'll make sure it all works.
Yes, we'll do our
now,
thing.
The day trips are from where? Las Vegas?
Yes, I have day trips from Vegas to Arizona and California. So,
okay.
So we have some tours. I have one tour very interesting. It's called Escape Tour, Arizona Escape Tour. Well, we start here in Kingman, and we go all the way to the state line with New Mexico. So we cover the whole Arizona stretch. We go to California as well on Route 66 only. And this is very interesting. I have a lot of customers enjoying this little stretch. And there are also day trips, 2 days or 1 day trip that we can go from Vegas and do it because it's very close. So less than 2 hours from Vegas, you can experience the motor road in its best shape, in the best format that works for you. If you don't want to do it guided, it's okay. I can just show you the way and you can just self-drive it, but this is what we do, and we do from the heart.
Well, I really appreciate it. I think it's great information. Again, it is one of the most romanticized roads in America. Steinbeck wrote about it. The song, we all know the song, Get Your Kicks on Route 66. When I call bingo, when I'm a guest bingo caller, I always, when 066 comes out, I always say, get your kicks on Route 66. And little kids will look at me like, what is he talking about? The older folks get it. The older seasoned citizens get it, but the little kids, they're not getting it. So I really appreciate you being on board with me, Anna. It's a really tremendous opportunity for people to go ahead and take advantage of one of the great highways and byways that our country ever produced, and that is Route 66. I thank you for being on board today.
Thank you so much once again.
Again, if you book a trip that involves Route 66, we can hook you up with Anna. We'll make it all happen. If it's 4 nights or longer, and most times it really is, to get the good sense of the whole destinations that you can go to, I'll throw $66 off your trip. So I thank you so much for being a part of this podcast. And this is the Walters Wanderings Travel Podcast. We'll catch you again for another edition real soon. Take care.